Hello everyone, this is the second part of the paper 2 question 4 video in which I give you tips for approaching this question. As we talked about in the previous video, the focus on this one is AO3, compare writers' ideas and perspectives, as well as how these are conveyed, and that is very important. In the examiner's report they talked about that across 2 or more texts. And it's a 16-mark question, so it's almost like a little mini essay. We looked at the question where we went through where the evidence was to be found. It's from this document. I will link to where you find this document in the description box. So read it through. If you have come to this is the second half of 2 videos, so read it through and have a look at the first video and then come back. And in the first video, we looked at planning. So I showed an example of a plan here and how I came about 4 clear things to write about. I thought about the keywords in the question, so parenting and education, and I thought about a kind of emotional perspective on each one, a mood, a tone, and I thought about an idea and a kind of focus or kind of philosophy kind of attitude for each one. So you had a thought about, here's a thought about school, kind of thought about how you should be a parent, and this was like a tone of voice about school and a tone of voice and kind of level of concern for parenting. So watch the first video if you'd like some clarification on that. Now what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to show you an example of 1 paragraph I've written. This is due to time. These videos, I don't want them to go on for hours and hours. Obviously, you repeat this process with your other points, but I'm going to focus on this first paragraph, how I would turn this into an answer. I'm going to talk you through it. This is not a perfect answer. This is just me with quite a basic approach to show you how you put your ideas together. Yours could come out looking completely different. And if you got 3 or 4 paragraphs like that, that would be great. There's no need to do hundreds and hundreds. 3 or 4 will show the examiner enough evidence of you consistently doing these skills. So I'm going to put down here, again, AO3. And the reason I'm going to do this is because when we're looking at this paragraph, we want to make sure we hit all of the items in AO3. So I start my answer by talking about the writer of the first extract, J. Rayner. So J. Rayner's article has a light-hearted, humorous attitude towards school. Now you will notice I have not written anything basic like happy. Remember that the intensity and the focus of your emotion words, that's really important when you're writing about an article or about a piece of fiction. You have to hone in on exactly the right emotion at exactly the right level of intensity. Now he's not rolling on the floor, it's not hilarious, it's humorous, yeah? And he's equally, he's light-hearted, he's not trying to make tears of laughter roll down our face. But it's not that serious. And he's talking about school when he does it. So J. Rayner's article has a light-hearted, humorous attitude towards school. The tone uses, so here, this is where we're getting on to the how. The tone used in phrases such as, ah yes, algebra, the merry dance of X and Y. So there's my evidence. Here's some language about language, tone. The tone used in phrases such as, ah yes, algebra, the merry dance of X and Y, is chatty due to the inclusion of ah yes at the start of the sentence. So this makes it sound like he's talking. It's chatty, yeah? So that's explaining the how. How is it humorous, yeah? Okay, if you really wanted to spell it out, you could say, thus it sounds casual and carefree. Okay, so I am really saying how this idea that education is something, this particular school, it's light-hearted, it's humorous, he's not that bothered. Yeah? He didn't do well in his education, but he's not that bothered kind of thing. Furthermore, the personification merry dance. Now, this is where I am pushing up my marks, because what I'm doing is I'm not trying to do the shortest possible paragraph for this, and then get onto this one and this one and this one, and then put some more in. I'm going to add more evidence in to show that I've looked at the whole text, and through the whole text I know that he's light-hearted and humorous and chatty and carefree about school. So, furthermore, I'm adding some different stuff. Furthermore, the personification, there's my how, of merry dance makes the subject sound as if it is joyful and amusing. Okay, so the idea that to him, even though he's not very good at maths, he's not that bothered. It's still a happy thing to talk about. And the joke is on Rainer, who cannot understand algebra, but is glad his son is irritatingly good at it. So here is my bit that shows I've read the whole article, and I've linked this together with merry dance. Yeah? So it shows I've read the whole source, but more importantly, I'm showing how he is jokey about education. He's jokey in tone, he's carefree, he doesn't mind that the joke is on him when it comes to education. He uses the personification merry dance. You've got the word merry, it's all happy, it's funny. And it makes the subject of maths sound joyful and amusing. However, the irony is the joke's on Rainer because he's terrible at maths, but his son is irritatingly good at it. So obviously, he's not worried, he's not sad, he's just saying, well, I'm rubbish at maths, my son's really good at it. Then this sentence, this little sentence with its start here is crucial to this. Once you've finished writing about source 1, before you write about source 2, you really, really must put in a comparison connective. In contrast, on the other hand, similarly, if they've asked you for something similar, yeah? However, you must put in a comparison word there. In contrast, Heritage, who's the writer of the second piece, Heritage has good reason to take a grave and serious tone concerning his son's schooling. In terms of my writing, I've looked up here and I'm comparing. So I'm looking at a difference. The difference here is Rainer thinks school is funny. Heritage has a good reason to think this school is not funny at all. When he states, I do not approve of the system of education, his language is clear and businesslike. He opens his paragraph with this disapproval and goes on to mention both a lack of progress and the injunction whereby the masters censor children's letters. Now here, I haven't talked about language, but I am talking about how. Because here, I'm talking about structure. He's really, really serious about how bad he thinks his son's school is. And so where does he put the phrase that he does not approve of the system of education at that school? He puts it at the opening of the paragraph. Yeah? So you don't have to only talk about individual words and methods. You don't only have to be looking for personification, similes, metaphors, etc. You can be looking at what is said first. And he opens one of his paragraphs straight up by saying he doesn't approve of it. Yeah? That is a how. He doesn't bury it away. He just comes straight out, and his first sentence is, I do not approve of the system of education. However, like I said, I don't want to rush through these. I want to put more than one idea for each quote, because that's digging deeper. That's specifically what the examiners want. So I'm going to put a little bit more about this grave and serious tone. He opens his paragraph with his disapproval and goes on to mention both a lack of progress and the injunction. So I've picked out a key word whereby the masters censor children's letters. By calling it an injunction, it makes it appear almost illegal. Okay? And that really is hinting at his attitude. So I'm looking back at this that I wrote very quickly, and I'm actually going to improve it here because I'm going to relate it back to his attitude. Therefore, it may be said that he views these masters as what? Imprisoning the children because of this injunction, taking the law into their own hands. He's certainly, he feels he should be ruling his sons' lives, and he sent them to learn. So as making their own unfair rules with no regard to their proper duty, the progress in education of his sons. Okay, so I'm really spelling out, if you'll see this how, if I'm going to colour code this in a minute, where the how is, I'm making it really clear, how. He's using this kind of language of the law, and he's using it in a disapproving way. He thinks these masters are making up their own rules instead of doing what they should be doing, which is just educating his sons. So, if we look at this, writer's ideas and perspectives. So, I'm going to highlight in yellow where I have set out a perspective. There's a perspective. Here's another bit of a perspective. The joke's on him. He doesn't mind. And here, and here, he views these masters as making their own unfair rules. So every time they've had this kind of tone of voice, that one is upset and the other isn't upset. Okay, I've made that quite clear. Okay, how these are conveyed. So I have ticked off here the perspectives. This is not the individual ideas so much. This is the strong perspectives. How these are conveyed. Okay. I take another colour here. So I'm talking about tone. I'm explaining key words, and look, even more here. Explaining. Oh, and I've missed something out. This is a perspective, isn't it? It's a thought. So loads and loads and loads of explaining. Here we go, when he states, clear and businesslike language. He opens his paragraph with this disapproval. He goes and talks about the lack of progress, injunctions, calls it injunction. So this is all very similar to a squid, but it's maybe a little kind of squashed together squid to give you time. And then finally, we obviously need to have some evidence for this. Okay? So, I'm just going to highlight that in yellow again. Sorry, highlight it again. I want to have some evidence. I must include at least 2 or 3 quotations. So in green, got a quotation here. Got a quotation here. These are my main. Oh, no. Dear me. And here, this bit should be yellow. There we go. So I've got 2 main quotes, but you'll notice there that I have predominantly put this turquoise on, and this shows where I am explaining the how. So it's what is their perspective, and then second half it's ideas, evidence, lots and lots of, not necessarily like squashed up squid analysis basically, and then a comparing word, and then I go the same. You must put how. You would repeat this process for at least 3 times to get a decent grade. Some people might manage 4, but it's important to do 3 or 4 of these rather than lots and lots of shallow paragraphs. I hope that was really helpful. I'll come back with more questions soon. Good luck with your revising.